Hello everyone, welcome to another video. After this video, I should be caught up with all of the videos that I intended to make. So there should be, if you're watching this now, 4 other videos that I've been trying to upload all at the same time. So you should get 4 videos for hopefully the price of one. And again, I apologize for the delay. There's been a lot of things going on. And the holidays just ended roughly, and now I can really focus on this new year, and I hope to stay consistent this year. That is definitely one of my resolutions for 2019 is to try to be as consistent as I possibly can, because um, I know that I will have some extra time thrown in there. Um, it's just sometimes I get very tired because I have so much different things going on, and there's sometimes just not enough time and then not enough energy on my part. So I do apologize that I am human and have limitations, but I will try to try to keep as much consistency as I can within 2019, because I'm always for improving myself. So, without further ado, I thought for January's video it would be interesting to talk about a TV show, since this is something that I'm kind of trying to make part of my channel as well, where I discuss television and not just movies and music and books and things of that nature. So I thought for this particular one that I would discuss a comedy. And I try to discuss things that are not only within cable television, but also with internet television, like either Netflix or Amazon or HBO, even to a certain extent. Um, so without further ado, let me address the TV show that I wanted to talk about, which is a comedy. And it's only been on 2 seasons so far, so it is a relatively new show. I don't know how long they intend the series to go for, but so far I have found myself enjoying it a whole lot. And I did just recently watch the 2nd season, so I am pretty caught up with everything that's kind of going on within the show. So I think it's the appropriate time for me to kind of explain a little my reasons for enjoying the show and why maybe it might be worth your time as well. And that show is The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Now, you can only watch this series if you have Amazon Prime, so if you are a Prime member, and I technically am not a Prime member, my husband is, so I use his account, but you know, I mean, we're married, so it makes sense. um, but yes, this is exclusively for Amazon Prime members. So if you do not have an Amazon Prime, if you don't have Amazon Prime, then you probably won't be able to watch this show. But I think a lot of people have Amazon Prime. Uh, it's sort of like becoming a it's sort of become like a kind of household thing to, I guess, have now, because everybody shops pretty much online now. At least the people in my generation do a lot of shopping online. I still like going to brick and mortar, and I still like touching and seeing things before I buy it, but and in real life. But at the same time, there are a lot of interesting things that Amazon Prime offers, and one of them is the fact that they have various TV shows, or at least starting to do various TV shows. I think they even do some movies, like some small films, but I think they're more focused on television, at least for now. But who knows what they will evolve into. And The Marvelous Miss Maisel is probably one of their more popular and well-known shows. Now, I enjoy this show for a variety of different reasons. Um, the characters are likable and fun to watch. The plot lines can sometimes be a little bit ridiculous, but I still kind of uh, enjoy them for that. And I really like the way the characters interact with each other. I think they work off so well. and they really bring out something that's sort of, I think, on the one side is down to earth, but also is a little bit exaggerated and ridiculous, and they sort of balance that out, I think, really well. Um, I really like the style of humor. The main character, who is Miss Maisel, or as she is called, Miriam or Midge within the show. Uh, the way she just times her jokes and how quick she is to think up on her feet, I think is very uh, en engaging and sort of inspiring to watch, because you really see what a genuinely funny person is like. I like how she interacts with her family. Um, I relate to the struggles that sometimes she's going through within the series, and I find it interesting that it chose to take place within the setting of the 1950s, and I think it's interesting on how it sort of reflects on the sort of attitudes that were sort of going on within the time, but then also tries to kind of be um, a little bit more out there and exaggerated. And I think a large part could probably be from the way in which the characters were raised, and maybe just the environment that they're in, because they are in New York City for the most part of the show. For the most part, when you look at the episodes of the show, and you see how the environment there is very quick thinking, and it's very hustle and bustle type. It's a very hustle and bustle type environment as well. So um, all of the kind of good and sort of messy and raunchy is kind of mixed, thrown in there as well, and I think it really works well with, again, not only the time period but also the setting being New York City. Now the main sort of struggle and focus really of the show is the main character Miriam having to kind of branch out from her traditional life. Especially within the 1950s, it was very common for people to marry not only at a younger age, but it was also more common for people to focus on the family and on maybe even religion to a certain extent, because Miriam's family is Jewish and they kind of take their Judaism relatively seriously, and um, so do the other families that are within the show. So you sort of see that there is a lot of emphasis on that, but then you see how Miriam is trying to break out of that mold and sort of do something different that is, again, very unconventional at the time, and that's to be a stand-up comedian. And the reasoning for her kind of stepping out and into this role is largely by her husband's infidelity, which is emphasized early on within the show. So it's not really like I'm revealing anything too shocking, because it's really established sort of at the beginning they're that she's a little bit on rocky terms with her husband. But I like how they kind of don't make the husband a bad guy. He's just kind of, I think he just has a lot of insecurities with himself, and I think he has a lot of uncertainty with what he kind of wants to do with his life. And there's just a lot of things that I think that the husband is dealing with that end up resulting in him not being 100% faithful. Um, and you sort of see the kind of tragedy as well behind that. And I kind of like how she tries to spin things to kind of make herself laugh about it. It's kind of similar to the way in which there's all these tragic things that happen to a character like Deadpool, but he still makes these like amazing jokes and just flies off the wall as far as um, his way of, again, coping with the sadness and the loneliness as well. And I think, again, the show nails, I think, that finding comedy within tragedy very aspect or angle very well. Now, it's definitely uncertain where exactly the show is going to go from where where it started. But again, the main focus is largely her branching out and doing this very unconventional thing, because back in the day within the 50s, I guess it was sort of uncommon for women to do comedy. And I think even comedy back then was very underground. So, like, comedy wasn't really something that was in the mainstream. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that, again, comedy within and of itself is designed to kind of make people feel uncomfortable and at the same time laugh at that uncomfortableness. And you know, and as a result, it doesn't fit well with a lot of people, especially people back then who were a lot more traditional, you know, a lot more, you know, conservative with the way. Again, this is not nothing really necessarily to do with political leanings, but people were just, again, more restrained as far as what you could say, what you could, how you could express yourself, you know, all these little tidbits, you know, people kind of were, again, very more reserved. People were not into being out there as far as expressing themselves. People were a lot more, you know, just, I think it's not necessarily to say that people were boring back then, but it is to say that it seemed like the culture was a little bit not, it was not as loose as it is now. And again, this could be a sort of a good or a bad thing, depending. But I think now that comedy has become more mainstream and a lot more popular among even the average folk, it really shows you that we have loosened up, I think, since then. But it really shows you kind of the difficulty of Miriam trying to branch out into into doing this stand-up comedy, because um, not only does she have to kind of hide it from her family, because it is such a very unusual and um, just, it's just not something that you would expect a 1950s housewife to go and do, you know, and it can come off as a little bit shocking, and you'll kind of see where the shock eventually comes from once there's certain family members who figure out what she's doing. And now, uh, I think that's what makes it so fascinating as well, with the fact that it takes place within this time period, because again, the way in which we saw comedy, I think, back then was a lot more obscure and underground, and again, it wasn't something that was really all that easily accessible. They really do emphasize within the show how uh, you know, in order to get comedy, you would have to go and get a record of the comedian doing his performance. You know, it wasn't like you can just go online and find whatever comedian you want to watch. You had to really go and dig and look for it. And it just goes to show you how it was something that people, if they wanted to seek it out, they seeked it out. And it's not necessarily something where nowadays, you know, it can just suddenly just pop up in your Facebook feed, you know, um, and be more readily available to people. So that's, I think, something that's also very kind of important to understand, because again, that's why comedy, I thought, was at least from my impression with watching the show, a little bit uh, it wasn't really part of the mainstream. It wasn't like how music back then again was definitely mainstream, and movies and television were a lot more mainstream. Comedy was kind of a secondary thing, and you can maybe even say to a certain extent today it is sort of a secondary thing, you know. But I think it's definitely gotten more influential and more popular over the years. Um, so overall, this show I think really is one of the better television shows that I have seen. I cannot tell you how many times, and this is not just with the cable shows anymore, but even some of the Netflix shows and the other shows that people are coming up with. Um, some of them are so grim and dark, and you know, some of them too. I don't really find that engaging or interesting to watch, but I think something like this can really grab people's attention. Now, I will say, just for my audience sake, if you are the opposite gender of myself, being or just different gender from myself, being a male, I don't think that this is really, uh, the male demographic is really the intended audience for this show. I think from my experience, more women in particular enjoy this show over men, and I can kind of understand why, because I think the issues that the show addresses, I think, are more relatable to women because women have, I think, had more experiences that are like what the main character Miriam goes through. You know, just similar, like kind of awkward, strange, and bizarre, you know, experiences that can be relatable. But I think um, men, I don't think have have had those had. I think some men, not all, but some men have not had those kinds of experiences, and I think that's why maybe that's kind of disengaging for some men to watch. But that's just something that I've noticed just by talking to people. You know, it's just it's more. I'm just generalizing here. I'm just completely generalizing here and saying this is more of a show for women than it is for men. Men can obviously enjoy it. Men can think it's the great. Some men can think it's the greatest thing in the world. But again, I don't think that it's primarily the main demographic. Um, so just kind of bear that in mind. Um, and understand too that, you know, there's certain things that I think, you know, that can be funny to maybe women that men may not necessarily find entertaining or funny. And I can understand that, and I can understand why they maybe wouldn't relate to that. But um, again, there is just something about this show, you know, with a lot of the main characters being women. I can understand why it is more of a woman show. Doesn't mean that men can't enjoy it, doesn't mean men can't watch it. I'm just saying that generally speaking, this if you are of the same gender as myself, being a woman, you probably might find this more engaging um, than your male counterparts. But some of them may find it enjoying. You know, it kind of just I think really all depends on the person. But that's just kind of just a general sort of trend that I've noticed. Is whenever I talk to men about the show, they're kind of like, I don't really care for it. But then when I talk with women about the show, they're like, I love this show. This show's amazing. So yeah, I can understand that there's this sort of general trend that I've noticed, and again, maybe you've noticed even the trend as well. That's just am I alone here? I don't know, but that's what I've noticed. So just kind of bear that in mind and understand that it may not be your specific demographic, but you may or may not enjoy it depending on how I've explained everything out and what the show is all about and whatnot. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about everything. that is involved with this show. I think it's been nominated for a couple of things. I think it won maybe some stuff, and I think it's definitely worthy of the praise. And I think it is very, excuse me, very well constructed and really well thought out and put together. Is it a perfect show? No. Is it going to be for everybody? No. But again, I think there are a lot of things within this show that I think people can find relatable and engaging. It just depends on if you're willing to look into it. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. And I hope to stay on track. But if I do always, even if I do fall behind, I always end up catching up. So make that a guarantee for this year that I'll always catch up. But just know that I am trying to work on trying to make it a little bit more consistent. But until next, everybody, bye bye.